you, Mrs. Samuelu.
Good morning and thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Carissa Samuelu. I'm a local mother of 2 young children and a breastfeeding peer support person here in Waitaki. I speak for myself and on behalf of parents, grandparents and members of our community. We are gravely concerned for those that do not have a voice at this table, the children and the future generations of Waitaki. There is now significant and growing evidence that fluoridated water presents unacceptable risk to our children. So I'm going to refer to a few of the published studies and I'll give you all a copy of my notes afterwards with the references included. Just last week, a new US government-funded study was published showing women exposed to fluoride during pregnancy had significant changes in the proteins in their cord blood during their second trimester. 2 other studies had already confirmed that when pregnant women are exposed to fluoride, the fluoride crosses the placental barrier to the fetus. Prenatal exposure has been associated with lower IQ in children, increased symptoms of ADHD, and poorer cognitive function. Canadian and US studies of mother-child pairs where the mothers drank fluoridated water during pregnancy have found links to their babies having poorer inhibitory control and cognitive flexibility and also increased neurobehavioral problems. These studies had a fluoridation rate lower than Waitaki's rate for fluoridation. There are a number of studies showing that prenatal exposure at the level that Waitaki Council will be dosing fluoride into the water has a likely detrimental and irreversible effect on the neurological development of our children. Then we look at younger babies. The Ministry of Health's own guidelines for the use of fluoride states the group at greatest risk of exceeding the upper limit are the very young, particularly the fully formula-fed infant, where fluoridated water has been used to prepare the formula. The report established that a fully formula-fed infant exceeds the upper limit approximately 1/3 of the time for formula prepared with water at 0.7 milligrams and more than 90% of the time with water at 1. So the Ministry of Health is acknowledging that formula-fed babies are already exceeding the current upper limit rates a lot of the time. How many of our young families are aware of this? Through my breastfeeding peer support certification training, I have learnt that in the Southland DHB region, 17% of babies are partially or exclusively formula fed by the time they are discharged from hospital. This percentage continues to rise. A large demographic living here are the Pacific Island peoples. Health in New Zealand stats show that they have the highest percentage of exclusively formula fed babies, and again, this percentage is rising. A US study released this year found that exclusively formula-fed babies in fluoridated areas receive an average of 200 times more fluoride than breastfed babies. This clearly places Waitaki's large and growing demographic of Pacific Island babies at the greatest risk for neurological harm. A Canadian study found that exposure to increasing levels of fluoride in tap water was associated with non-verbal intellectual abilities, with the effect being more pronounced in formula-fed children. There are now a multitude of studies showing that early life exposure to fluoride irreversibly harms children's brain development. By adding fluoride to Oamaru's water supply, you are placing them at risk, right from when they're in their mother's womb. The evidence of how much difference water fluoridation makes for children's teeth is now very much in doubt. But even if you believe fluoridation makes a meaningful difference to children's teeth, we can't prioritize their teeth over their brains. That is why I'm speaking to you today, for our children today and in the future here in Waitaki. They do not have a voice. We are their voice here. We are asking you to be brave and to uphold the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act because it is the right thing to do. Instead of implementing this directive, implement a successful initiative such as Scotland's Childsmile program. As they state, Childsmile is reducing inequalities in oral health and ensuring access to dental services for every child across the country. There, the children brush their teeth together every day after lunch and create these daily habits. It's simple, cheap, and it works far better than anything New Zealand has done. Mr. Mayor and councillors, we are asking you to stand up and be the voice for our children and the future generations of Waitaki. We are asking you again to stop fluoridation now. Now going to pass out, so we have a list of requests that we would like you to vote on. So I'm just going to pass this around. If you could take one each.
Thank you for speaking. That brings us to the end, Koba, but we'll acknowledge the information that you're circulating. Insofar as our role with council in terms of community water fluoridation, it provides that councils, they must comply with the Director General's directions. But we do acknowledge and hear your submissions that you have shared with us today.
Thank you. Could I respond to that, Deputy Mayor?
I'll just open it up to any other questions or comments that the governance team may have.
So we have instructed Waitaki District Council staff to refrain from or cease adding fluoride until the Ordered Bill of Rights Act analysis has been provided and considered at a further full council meeting. Write to the Director General of Health seeking assurance that Waitaki District Council will not be prosecuted for non-compliance with the directive unless or until the BORA analysis has been done. If contrary to this request, you continue to permit water fluoridation, request a report from Waitaki District Council staff proposing mechanisms, possible locations and estimated costs for public non-fluoridated water sources. Ask Waitaki District Council staff to increase the frequency of water testing to a monthly basis for lead at various points around the distribution area for the first several months after fluoride is added to the water supply. Issue a public notice warning that bottle-fed infants are likely to regularly exceed the upper limit of fluoride currently recommended in New Zealand, as acknowledged in the 2014 OPMCSA report, and also suggesting that pregnant women and people with thyroid or kidney diseases consider seeking medical advice to consider what impacts water fluoridation may have for them. Hold a public meeting or information session with Ministry of Health experts so that local people can ask them questions in regard to this issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that.